Let's jump to WrestleMania 14. WrestleMania 14, a pivotal time in my career. It was the night in Boston Fleet Center where I was going to win my first World Heavyweight Championship. I was going in to face none other than yourself, the Heartbreak Kid. We had Mike Tyson involved as a special referee. Obviously, you being the heavier-footed guy at that time in the business, you knew that Mike Tyson was going to be a part of this whole extravaganza probably way before I did. But when Vince is breaking this information down to you about Mike Tyson being involved, what ran through your head? Were you down with that? Were you say, hey, that's a great idea? Or where were you on the whole Mike Tyson thing?
Well, I mean, as best I can recall, I mean, I don't think I knew about it, I mean, I can remember, I think, hearing about it, but, I mean, you did the first thing with him. I mean, and I mean, to be perfectly honest, I can remember, I can remember being a little jealous of, like, I mean, he's going to, Mike Tyson's going to be here, and I'm in the main event with Steve, and I don't even get to do anything with him. And so I didn't know we were doing the DX thing or anything like that the first time when you guys went out there and did the confrontation with him where you pushed him and all that with Vince. I didn't even know where we were going then. You know what I mean? So, and I got, and as you know, Steve, I mean, somebody could have told me then, and it's gone now, for all I know. But I mean, but that notwithstanding, I mean, you knew it was going to be big. You knew it was going to help, obviously, the pay-per-view. Yeah, it was one of the, having done a fair amount of those, WrestleManias with, quote, stars, unquote. This one felt like this was going to be one that really worked in our advantage. And and again, everybody knew. I mean, you'd had been a dummy to know that, didn't know that you were coming on hot. I mean, so it was for me, and again, just being 100% totally honest, it was it's one of those things where you're like, it's cool, all the stuff that's happening, it's big, but you're not a part of it. And that was admittedly a tough pill to swallow, and obviously not being the great guy, that I am now. But I mean,
the guy I'm talking to now is a lot different than the guy back then, because I remember, man, I mean, tension was high. We started building that WrestleMania 14 thing, and we brought Tyson in, and everything was going full speed ahead. And I remember the time you super kicked me on the top of the ramp there that one time, and Triple H was there, and we were doing it was a hell of a build up, but man, it seems there was a little bit of animosity there. I mean, and you seemingly to me were just in a lot different space then than you are now. It seems you were beat up.
Well, and the thing is, the animosity was never at you.
No, it was never personal, and I get that.
Yeah, it was at the situation. It was at Vince. The career's over. I'm dropping the title. We're about
the frustration.
It was palpable that this is going to be big. I'm going to miss it. I mean, there was absolutely nothing good going on with me, and so I was a dick to everybody.
But that being said, but how were you on a physical level as far as on a pain level? I know your back was bothering you at that time. What kind of pain level were you in going into that match through the build?
Well, I mean, I can remember having that one dude, I can't remember his name anymore.
Francois.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, he came down to my place and was working with me, every day before that. I mean, and I got to be honest. I mean, I was on, a fair amount of stuff. So I mean, for me to say what I would have been like, completely off it. I mean, I can't say. I can tell you that, going into it, the whole thing that started it, it was excruciating. I mean, and you've had, that unbelievable pain going down your leg, the leg feeling like it's dragging. And I guess for me, that was the thing that, because pain, I guess, pain, I don't know, it's one of those mentally I can always sort of do with pain. Mobility and feeling heavy always, that more than anything, bothers me, frustrates me, and that's the thing I think that also added to, my frustration and my attitude and everything then, knowing that I could not. It was, the one thing that I had, Steve, always had, even if I was the biggest prick in the world, I could always go out there and just rip it down and tear it up. And I knew that was not going to happen this time. And that more than anything, I think, bothered me and affected my psyche more than anything else. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Well, it was interesting because I remember going into that match, and I remember coming out of that match, and I won my first championship. But I mean, gosh, you and me had ripped the ring up 100 times when I first came into the company, and then on the grand stage, it wasn't so much. I mean, that's just honestly just between you and me, and as many matches of the year you have had and that I've seen, it was could it have been better? It could have been a lot better, but given the situations and everything that was going on, we went out there and we did what we had to do, and so I won the belt that night. And you dropped the title to me. A big deal, a big step in my career, and something that I'll never forget. After that match, where were you in your head? Was it a letdown? Was it disappointment? Was that just part of the business? Was it a weight off your back? Where were you once that three count happened? You went back to the dressing room and just kind of chilled.
Well, I mean, the first thing was, there was no. It took a long time for me to get to the chill stage. I mean, I was, and that's, again, obviously, now all these years later, I mean, it's still like the one question people always ask me, like, hey, if you could change anything. I mean, I'm not big on the whole regrets thing, because I don't like to change anything because it might change where I'm at. But it's like if you could have one do-over, that match has always been, one of the things. I don't know if you remember, but I can remember, creatively. I mean, I was always, as were you, good. I mean, we ended up doing basically what you and Hunter had been doing,
right,
in house shows. We didn't even, just because I wasn't even there mentally, had no drive to come up with something good and creative. You know what I mean? And that's just, I was, so I was never like that. Again, even if I was in the ring with somebody I didn't like, I never, my ring performance was never affected, from that standpoint, because, that's one thing. It was one thing I wouldn't let suffer. So, the fact that it wasn't, ripping the house down bothered me. The fact that, the company was moving on, that bothered me. I can remember my biggest priority that night was nobody putting a shirt on me. I can remember being angry about that. You know what I mean? I was just, it wasn't until I got home, I think, and just got away from it all altogether, that I think I finally sort of, got a little relaxed, and sort of felt like, the weight of the world been lifted off my shoulders. I can remember watching the show the next night, and Hunter and, Kid coming out and bringing all that, and again, and him doing the promo, you dropped the ball and all that kind of stuff. And remember, absolutely none of that even, bothered me in the least bit. I mean, having the ability and the clarity to not be upset with the moving on that happens when you leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's, I think, the first time, that I sort of felt like, holy cow, you know what I mean? This ought to bother me more. You know what I mean? If a shirt being laid on me, yesterday bothered me so much, how come this doesn't? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what when I think sort of the idea of, Steve, the job, as great as it is, it keeps you so busy. And to just, maybe have time to get a hobby, to, not go get in the car, to lay around, to to just sort of do whatever it is you want. I think it's the first time I probably thought about that since I was 19 years old.